Today, we're going to get into a story about trust, about desperation, and about how a promise of a better life sold by a neighbor can turn into a devastating trap.
Just 3 words. But what pushes someone to say that to a person they know, someone who lives just a few doors down? Well, we're going to unpack the story behind this one simple accusation to really understand the moments of hope and betrayal that led right to it.
So, where does a story like this even begin? It doesn't start with some mustache-twirling villain. It starts with a young woman who just felt invisible. It's about that deep-seated need to be seen, to be important, and how easily that desire can be twisted.
All right, so let's get into who we're talking about here. On one side, you've got Alina. She always felt like the forgotten child in her family, and she was just desperate to finally be somebody. And on the other side, we have Samira. She's a single mom, she's on benefits, and she is sharp and resilient, but she's also struggling, just trying to provide for her kids. So you have 2 women from the same community, but with totally different vulnerabilities. One is chasing status, and the other is just trying to survive.
There's actually a name for this kind of thing: affinity fraud. It's a scam that specifically targets a group, like a religious or an ethnic community. The whole trick is that the scammer uses the trust that's already built into that group as a weapon. It lets them bypass all the usual red flags you'd have with a stranger. It's basically an inside job.
So, once you've got that trust locked in, what's next? Well, you have to build the promise. This is the part where the scam gets packaged not as some risky gamble, but as a golden opportunity, a way out.
And the pitch itself? Man, it was so simple, and that's what made it so brilliant. Alina laid it out for Samira just like this. Step 1, you invest £3,000. Step 2, you get £300 back every single month. And then, a year later, you've got £12,000. It's so clear, it seems so profitable, and, crucially, because it's coming from a neighbor, it feels real, it feels legitimate.
And this was the killer question. This was the hook. Alina used this to shift Samira's mind away from the risk of losing her money and onto the dream of what that extra cash could mean. It's a powerful question, right? It makes you stop and really imagine a life with just a little less stress. And for Samira, that £300, it wasn't about luxury, not at all. It meant new school uniforms for her kids without having to panic. It meant good, proper meals and a fridge that was actually full. It meant paying the gas bill early for the first time, maybe ever. You see, this wasn't about getting rich. It was about getting back some dignity.
And just like that, she was in. She pulled the money together, and for a little while, that dream actually felt real. This next part of the story, it's all about that fragile, dangerous hope, which of course makes the crash so much more devastating.
Now that £3,000, you have to realize this was literally everything Samira had. This wasn't just savings. She scraped it together from her kids' birthday money, a gift from her aunts, and she even took out a high-interest payday loan. This was a true all-or-nothing bet.
And on the other side of that desperate bet, an immediate £500 bonus for Alina. The second Samira handed over her life savings, Alina got paid. That money, it was like a shot of Novocaine for her conscience. It just dulled the guilt and kept her in the game.
So for 2 months, the plan worked. The payments arrived right on time. Samira, just overwhelmed with relief, called Alina in tears, and she said those words to her. Can you imagine being Alina in that moment? Hearing someone thank you for saving them, all while knowing it's a complete lie and the clock is ticking. It's the absolute peak of the deception.
But a house of cards like this, it's always gonna fall. And now we get to that turning point, where the whole fragile structure just begins to crumble with breathtaking speed.
And when it fell apart fast. Brutally fast. In month 3, the payments just stop. Soon after that, her rent payment bounces. And before she knows it, her electricity is cut off, leaving her and her kids in the dark. In just a few weeks, the dream completely evaporated into an absolute nightmare.
Which brings us right back to where we started. Samira sees Alina on the street, and all of that fear and betrayal and desperation just boils over into those 3 words, "You ruined me." Now that accusation, it lands with its full, heartbreaking weight, doesn't it?
So where do you go from there? Well, now we get to the reckoning. This is about the justifications, the denial, and the very real long-term human cost of this lie.
So Alina actually went to the woman running the whole thing, Ghazala, and told her what was happening to Samira. And the advice she got back? It's just chilling.
It's a masterclass in manipulation, really. Reframe empathy as a burden and loyalty to the scam as a virtue. It's the cold, hard math that kept the whole thing running.
And the true cost for Samira was catastrophic, and it went so far beyond the money. Yeah, she was trapped in even deeper debt because that payday loan just spiraled with late fees. But the deepest wounds, they weren't financial. Her trust in her neighbors, in her community, was completely shattered. She ended up withdrawing from everyone in shame. The scam didn't just take her money, it took away her entire support system.
Ultimately, when you look at this whole story, you realize the money was just the tool. The real currency being stolen here was trust, which leaves us with one last thing to think about. When that trust is broken, it's not just one person who pays the price. It's the entire community.